Okay, so last time we saw each other in person, we talked about the telephony, and we talked about the terminology that has to do with the USOC, Universal Service Ordering Code, or POTS, and POTS, plain old telephone service. We are going to continue this class online today, and we're going to talk about the 25 pair color code. It's a you're going to see that a lot, so might as well learn what this thing is. All right. Okay. So this is what 25 pair 25 pair cable looks like. It has 50 conductors paired up. So there are 25 pairs, and this actually during the lab we will connect that 25 pair cable onto something that's called a BIX frame. Sometimes they're called woofers, right? Okay, 25 pair color codes. I mean 25 pair cables, right? Now, most of the time you are going to see 25 pair cable in the configuration of category 3. We haven't talked about the categories yet. We will soon. But, well, category 3 can carry less signal with less speed, and Cat 5 or Cat 5e right now can carry more signal at more speed. Most of the time you're going to deal with the Cat 3, which is sort of obsolete these days, and we are recording this presentation in well, February 2023 if you are watching a rerun. All right. But still, this 25 pair color cable in Cat 3 configuration is probably the most popular one as far as the, well, telephony use, right, for telephones, and possibly intercom wiring, and maybe some various control signals if you need to carry multiple pairs from one point to another. So instead of running 12, 15, 20 cables, you could just run one of these 25 pair cables and be done with it, right? More aesthetic, less mess, and you can control the wiring in more convenient way, right? Now, I just wrote this thing here. Can you see the differences between this Cat 3 and Cat 5? Well, I'm not going to wait for the answers. We're going to show right away. Look, Cat 5 or Cat 5e, those conductors, those pairs, they have tighter twist and more consistent twist. All right. Cat 3 will have some sort of a twist, but not as much as 25 as Cat 5 or Cat 5e, right? And that has something to do for most for the most part. The purpose of the twist is to eliminate crosstalk between pairs. We will talk about that too in other presentation. All right, I got a new mouse, so it's not jumping back and forth right now. Let's talk about the 25 pair color code. If you count these columns here, you're going to count 25. It's going to, here's first pair, here's pair number 25. Now, we have dealt with already with the first 4 colors of the 25 pair color code by connecting the Cat 5e cables to different connectors. And those would be the blue pair, the orange pair, the green pair, and the brown pair, because Cat 5e has only 4 pairs. Excuse me. And Of course, because it's the first four, first four pairs of that whole color code scheme, it um, it is, those pairs are complemented with the white color, white group color. So it would be blue white, orange white, green white, and brown white. Now, the fifth one is the slate, and slate stands for gray. I think that here's my logic on that. Because slate sounds more like you know, sophisticated color names or whatever you want to call it. But look, if you use the three-letter designations, that green GRN would be too close to, if you wanted to gray, GRY maybe, or something like that. So for the purpose of distinguishing more comfortably the colors, I think that's why this gray color was named slate. All right, so here's blue, orange, green, brown, slate. All right, now I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you a way to remember the 25 pair colors. So you don't even have to look at any references. You don't have to Google that. Well, if you want to, you can always do that. But look, remember those blue, orange, green, brown, and just remember that the fifth one is slate, which is gray. And that repeats for every group. See, we have 5 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those designations repeat, except they will have different complementary color of the group. So the pair number 6 will have blue, red, orange, red, and so on. Okay, so blue, orange, green, brown, slate, blue, orange, green, brown, slate. That you can remember. You almost should have this thing in the back of your head right now, because we have dealt with this already during our labs. If not, you can just remember blue, orange, green, brown, slate. That's it. And that, as I said, repeats for every group. Now, how do we remember the group colors? All right, we remember already that we have dealt with the white group. So that's pretty much almost a given. All right. Now, remembering by association, that's a wonderful thing. I'm going to show you, maybe when we have time in person, I'm going to show you interesting experiment, how well you can remember things if you associate them with other familiar objects or ideas. Well, here's the thing. We're in Canada, right? Right, last time I checked. Canadian colors. From the first one, we go red. So we know the first 2 groups right now. Canadian colors. And here's the thing. Well, I feel sorry for the people in Norway or France or maybe the beautiful country of Zimbabwe, because they still have to use the Canadian colors, right, for the first 2 groups. All right, so white and red. Now, here is this one, these 2 right here. That one's going to be easy. From Canada, let's move to southern states of United States. And when I traveled through Texas, I was warned about something that's called a coral snake. And they're all over the place. There are signs to not walk on the grass, not because they want to keep the grass nice and beautiful, but because there could be snakes in them, right? That's the southern states, right? The warm climate. And the coral snake has rings, colorful rings arranged along its body. And when you see that the black color meets the yellow color, that is the highly poisonous snake. Avoid that one. There is another one, and I forgot the name of that one. And it looks almost like the coral snake, and it's almost like an imposter of that snake, right? But the black and yellow, they don't meet. So that means that's an imposter. So in Texas, there is a little rhyme that they teach the kindergarten and elementary school kids just to remember what to avoid. And it has to do with the black and yellow. And it sounds like this: black and yellow killed a fellow. So if you see black to black meet red, sorry, black meet yellow, that means it's the, well, really dangerous and poisonous coral snake. So now we have the first 4 color codes, first 4 groups out of 5. Right. So here, white, we already know that because we dealt with it all the time, or a lot. Then Canadian colors, red, and then it goes black and yellow, kill a fellow. Right. So here's white, red, black, yellow. Here is the violet. Violet, here's how we can remember that. This is the last color. Violet sounds similar to violence, all right? And of course, obviously, and whatnot, violence is the last thing that we need. And that's the last group. Okay. So right now, if I, well, I kind of dare you to experiment with your memory after this presentation. Just have no picture or whatever, remember those colors, and let's say which would be the pair 17, right? Well, let's say which was the pair 17. Well, would it go by 5s, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, 10 would be the last, and 5, 15. So first you go through the first 3 groups: white, red, black, and 17 plus 2 more. So here's 15, 2 more. Well, the next group is yellow, 16, 17. So the pair number 17 is orange, yellow. All right. So that's how we remember the colors of the 25 pair color code. Right. We're not done with this presentation here. Well, 13 minutes and you already know something. You already learned something. All right. A 25 pair cable is made out of 25 pair bundle. And it's a cable because it has many conductors and it's enclosed, embraced, covered with one common jacket. When you cut the jacket, when you strip the cable off the jacket, you're going to find, well, sometimes you're going to find nylon ribbons, or sometimes you're going to find strings. And for the most part, you're going to find 2 strings or ribbons. One string or ribbon is going to go in a straight way through all the jacket. That's the rip cord. We could make a little nick here with the side cutters just to start the cut. Or if you pull hard enough and the jacket is manufactured in a way that it gives quickly, that rip cord is going to start the rip. And that's for basically stripping things further, because remember, when we score this, there's a chance that we damage those conductors. So we always cut these off past this point, and then we use the rip cord to strip the jacket further. So there's one that's arranged in a straight way, and you will see that, right? There's another cord or a ribbon that you will see that is like spirally wrapped around the whole thing. Well, that's the group designator, or the bundle designator, not the group, the bundle, well, indicator designator, right? Now, if we have a 25 pair cable, we could just ignore that spiral wrap, just cut it off and remove it, because this is just a 25 pair cable. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes these multi-pair cables are available in a 100 pair configuration. So there would be 4 of these bundles enclosed in one common jacket. And the group colors are just like these. So here's where the challenge is, because there are 4 of these bundles and the color codes are just the same for every bundle. So if you just strip the jacketing and let all of these go, they can mix within each other and you will not know whether this pair that you grab, let's say brown and white, is this the pair from the first bundle or is it the pair from the third bundle or what? So here's the thing. Here and here. That's what 100 pair cable looks like. Of course, obviously it's thicker. And you can see the different color ribbons spirally wrapped around those. So this would be the bundle indicator ribbons. So if you strip one of these cables, so the 100 pair cables, and sometimes you will deal with those, you just have to make sure that you keep those colored strings or colored ribbons, depending on who manufactures that. Sometimes you're going to see strings and sometimes you're going to see ribbons. And before you do anything, what you're going to do is you're going to take that colored ribbon or a string and you're going to tie a knot around those bundles. So you will know which bundle belongs to which pairs or which pairs belong to which bundles. So you're going to tie one here, tie one here, tie one. And the colors of the ribbons, look, blue, orange, green, brown. Bundle number 1, bundle number 2, bundle number 3, and bundle number 4. So you're going to see those colored ribbons or strings. What did I say here? 100 per cable is made of 25 pair bundles. Okay, each bundle is identified with a binder or group indicator. So that would be the binder string or ribbon. Binders can be made of plastic tape or a ribbon that's spirally wrapped along the bundle. So that's what we talked about. Binders are identified by colors. When removing the cable jacket, make sure that the binders are kept together with their bundles, usually by tying the binders around the designated bundles. Simple enough. All right. Applications example 1 for the 25 pair cable. Over here, you can see something that is called a BIX frame, and we will play with that BIX frame when we terminate that 25 pair cable onto the wafer or BIX termination strip. Here's BIX termination field. And BIX stands for Building Industry Cross Connect. You are going to have a pretty detailed explanation with the preparation video that is for that lab 25 pair termination. It's a little bit longer video, so please start watching it so you can watch it in chunks, because we are going to, well, for the class of 2023 winter, that's going to be our lab 6. So it's starting next week. If you're watching a rerun, just ignore this comment. So please watch that video, because that is going to tell you what you need to know. And this lab is a little bit longer, so we're just going to perform only one lab during the 2-hour session. Application. Well, you could have a bunch of 25 pair cables, and each 25 pair cable is terminated on one of those termination strips, or sometimes they're called wafers, sometimes they're called connectors. So one of these is terminated here according to the color code. So pair 1 is always pair 1 here. Pair 17, pair 19, or pair 23 is always at the same spot for every termination strip. So let's say this one here is terminated here, this one here is terminated here, and so on. Now, these cables are going from some further part of the building, or maybe from multiple parts of the building, and they're coming to one common point. And there's another BIX termination field right beside that, and there's some more cables going to some different part of the building or wherever they go. And if you need to cross connect these pairs, that's something that's connected somewhere far there has to be connected to something that is somewhere far over there on the other side. you use something that is called a cross-connect cable, called cross-connect wire. And they are in pairs. They're just, you can sell them in, you can buy them in bundles, like reels. Or if you are in a pinch and if you just need to make few connections, you know what, you just take one Cat5e cable and rip it apart and use that as a cross-connect wire. Right? So we terminate that at the front with the BICS punch down tool, and it's an insulation displacement connection, same as we were punching down the jacks. And after we terminate all those, we flip it. So the front becomes the rear and the rear becomes the front. So all those are terminated at the back of each strip. And from here, these are connected one-to-one. Usually there are different big strips. Please watch that video. It's going to show you all the details about that. We don't have time for this because it will take longer time during this lecture here. But that's why I'm making those preparation videos for the labs. And then once this thing is reversed or flipped inside the frame, these connections are at the back of the frames, and you can grab those pairs from the front using cross-connect wire. Where's my mouse? Using the cross-connect wire and crossing them onto another BICS frame. So that's one of the applications. Okay. Application example number 2. Here is a phone system. We are going to study those as well. Telephone systems, conventional and VoIP. Excuse me. Let me get a sip of coffee. All right. So here is a 25 pair cable. So here is the KSU, sometimes called the key service unit. It's a small telephone system. This one is capable of 3 lines, 3 conventional lines coming in from outside. And through this, whoops, I just pressed the button. I got a new mouse. I keep pressing the wrong buttons. Sorry. So here is a breakout of the connections that go in the field of the building you're in. Could be a small business. So this one here is called Nortel 3x8. There are different brands, Panasonic, Toshiba, or whatnot. This is this one here. It's capable, it's called 3x8. So 3 lines coming in and 8 telephones out. And those telephones are brought from this connector right here. It's called an Amphenol connector. Couple slides down, you will see what it looks like. And here's a 25 pair cable, and it's terminated on the BICS frame. So on the BICS connector, so it can be inserted into one of those BICS fields and cross-connected to the wiring that is coming from the field, which is the rest of the building, where the telephone belongs. So that's how we use that also. This is called RJ21, so registered jack. We played with RJ45s, which would be the data connector, the Ethernet connector. These telephones, they are called RJ11 or RJ12. Okay, the shape is the same. RJ11 is capable of 2 pairs, and RJ12 is having extra prongs in there that RJ11 just has empty slots. So RJ11 or RJ12. You can't tell this one here, RJ11. So registered, this is also registered jack RJ21, and the X stands because it could be male or female, right? Depending on how you want to plug this in. Okay. So here's the BICS termination strip. Here's the telephone KSU, and KSU stands for key service unit. Well, a mouthful of a name. Basically, it's a phone system, telephone system that directs the telephone traffic within the business that this thing is installed in. All right. Here's 25 pair cable, and Amphenol connector. It's also called Amphenol connector RJ21. Can you name other users for the uses? Sorry, can you name other uses for the multi-pair cable? Well, intercom would be one, or control signals would be another one. All right. I'm going to show you something that's called also a butterfly, because this is the Amphenol connector, male or female, and that's how it terminates on a 25 pair. You can buy certain lengths of so-called pigtails that are already terminated. You can just have to specify whether you need male or female, depending on what type of a nest is here on whatever you're connecting this thing to. Or you can, even if you need to extend that 25 pair cable, you can terminate male on one end and female on the other end, and just connect them together, and you have an extended cable. Sometimes you need to extend cables, and sometimes if you can afford, because the the specifications are not that high for the type of signal that you're going to carry, you can also use the B connectors remember we terminated during our lab, we terminated just 2 pairs with the B connectors. Well, take a closer look in our lab, because I have placed a full 25 pair cable extended using the B caps. But also, you can buy something, or you can use something that's called a butterfly tool, and that's what it looks like. What you do with this is you strip this 25 pair cable, and you insert that into this contraption, and you separate those pairs and insert them in those grooves. And once everything is laid in the groove, so here will be the group colors, here will be the designation colors, and then you basically install a connector in the clip, one of these, male or female, and it has to be the right position, because these all are numbered here. It's also 25 pair connection. And then you close the handles on it. Here is a little video for you to watch of a person doing just that, right? So you know what the butterfly tool is used for. The butterfly tool is used to terminate the RJ21 X connectors, male or female, onto 25 pair cables. It used to be expensive, but now we can pick it up on eBay for, like, I don't know, sometimes $50 or $20, depending on who sells that. Right? Okay, and so that's the end of the first presentation, because that's the references. Now, I'm going to queue up another presentation here, and I'm going to talk to you about the termination types. So just give me a couple seconds here for me to bring this up. There we go. Data networks termination types. We all have gone through, or for the most part, yes, we have gone through the 110 termination platform. So I'm going to show you other types of terminations that you might encounter during your telecommunications career, if you end up in this field. All right, so I called it data networks termination types. All right, let's see. Definition of a cable termination. Let's see. We always have to go through those definitions, right? A cable termination is the connection of a wire or fiber to a device, such as equipment, panels, or wall outlets, which allows for connection of the cable to other cables or devices. Termination, it's a connection. Okay. Type of the connection, and we talked to you about during the labs, so now we're going to take a closer look at this thing. The type of the connection that we have, it's an insulation displacement connection. And that's what it looks like. There's something wrong with this image. I got this thing off the internet, and first I thought I was going to replace it with something else, but then I thought, oh, maybe not. Maybe I should leave this thing because that gives me a chance to explain something that shouldn't be done, right? And I'll explain that to you in a sec. Here's an installation displacement connection. We do not strip the cable. We put this thing on top of a connector that is enclosed on some sort of termination platform. It could be the 110, could be BIGS, could be whatever else. But more or less, here is the idea. You put it on top of the connector and you use some sort of inserting or punching or punch down tool to insert that or force that further into this connector. Now, after you force it or insert that or punch down the conductor, that connector here bites in through the insulation and makes contact with the copper that is inside. That is called insulation displacement connection. What is wrong with this particular specific image is this part right here. Somebody, whoever did that image, and there's a reference there, I always have to put references. Actually, here's a reference. It is a stranded cable. Stranded cable is made out of stranded conductor, sorry. Stranded conductor is made out of many strands of copper twisted into one conductor. We have studied that already. If you use stranded conductor with insulation displacement connection such as this, it would not be a good idea. Because once you push that in, the connector bites into the insulation, makes connection with it. There's a chance that it's going to break some of those strands. So you're not having the full capability of the conductor. This is made for solid conductors. The only exception that we use stranded cable is if we use those RJ45 plugs to make the patch cords. Patch cords, usually they are sold in stranded conductor configuration, or because they are more flexible. So you can manipulate them, plug them in, plug to different ports. And if you use the stranded cable, like Cat5e or Cat6 cable, to make patch cords, you should order the jacks that have the insulation displacement connectors at the other end of the prongs that come down on the conductor. They are slightly configured in a slightly different way, as if they were constructed for solid. So if you use a solid if you use a Cat5e, for example, with the solid conductors, solid core conductors, you need to apply, if you're going to terminate that with the RG45 plug, you need to have one that's specified for solid core conductors. If you use the stranded Cat5e or Cat6 cable, if you want to terminate that with the RG45 plug, you should order those and you should use the ones that are specified for stranded. So that's the only exception. But for the jacks and platforms such as these, this is a no-no. Okay. All right. That's what it looks like. It's one of the examples here. So this would be a magnified version of what's happening right in one of those, each of those slots right there. And we have done that already. Excuse me. All right, now here's a little tiny bit of a history, why this thing was invented and so on. So I encourage you to read through that. And if you want to go deep, go ahead. It could be somewhat fascinating. All right, excuse me. So basically, what it comes down to, the purpose of that is so jobs can be done more in more efficient ways, and speed of the of your work basically counts. Soldered connections, yes, they are pretty darn good, but they take longer time and more effort to connect. So insulation displacement connection was involved. So that's basically, that's what it says here. All right, and there's a reference where I got this from. General review. Presently in 2023, and I changed the dates. The two most common punch-down platforms used in Canada will be 110 and BIX. 110 treated as a name. Has this number 110 doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just a name, just like BIX, but somebody called it 110. All right. If you end up working in telecommunications, you will also see that something that's called 66 blocks as part of the existing old installation or installations. The 66 system is still widely used in USA. So I'm just reading that. So if you get an installation contract from a company located in the States, you might find the 66 blocks shipped to you. What is the common practice in Canada? What we do with those? And if somebody from the States watching it, please listen. If somebody tells you, please don't send us 66 blocks because we don't know what to do with them anymore, then maybe they could listen. But all right. All right. What do you do with that once you get it? The most common practice is recycling the 66 blocks and replacing it with the big system. That's what we do in Canada. All right. So there you go, guys. All right, here. Wrong button. All right, general overview continued. There are many punch down platforms, and this one is mine. All right. The shapes and forms might vary, but the purpose is one, to organize the field wiring in a permanent and systematic way. Why do we need to do that? So it can be easy to cross-connect various points of a cabling structure. If you have 1, 2, or 3 connections to make, yeah, okay, you can spider your way through it. It's not going to look pretty, but it's going to work, and it's going to be relatively easy to troubleshoot. That's what we call hack jobs. Okay. But if you have a communications room with hundreds of connections, well, we need to have some sort of organized and systematic way of connecting things so we can make heads and tails out of things once we get there. So we can do our job, we can troubleshoot, we can make new connections, we can disconnect, move connections from one to another, replace one another, right? Permanent cabling structure makes it possible for the cable runs to be tested and or certified. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have permanently installed link, so you run the cable in the walls, in the ceiling and whatnot, under the floor, whatever, right? And you terminate that in the wall, that is a permanent termination. There's a jack there. Right? Then the other end goes somewhere through the ceiling and whatever. Okay, well, it goes to a patch panel port of whatever the location is in some telecommunications room or telecommunications closet or IDF or MDF. Remember what these are? Intermediate distribution frame or main distribution frame. All right, so when they are terminated and permanently placed as such, then it is possible to plug in a test equipment and perform performance test of that link. And once that the test is performed, it could be qualified, which is qualification. It passes the cable as so and so. Okay, it qualifies at Cat 5E. It qualifies as Cat 6. That the tester will test for the length and test for the wire map, and it will perform slight, light duty frequency response test and whatnot. Right? So it's going to qualify as such. Right? Now, certifier, the certification equipment performs way more rigorous tests, and that's where you can use the big word that this link is certified as Cat 6 and has to do with the crosstalk and the attenuation and so on. More rigorous tests. It takes a little bit longer to test, but some companies, they require you to provide the certification. It is possible only if you connect this link in a permanent way. Here's a jack in the wall, here's a wire running through the ceiling and whatnot, and it's terminated in some sort of port on the other side. permanently installed. From there, you can use patch cords to cross connect wherever it was, wherever it is. So that's permanent cabling structure. It makes it possible to be certified. And okay, this way cross connecting cables. Yeah, this is basically what I just said to explain that. All right. Different types of terminations. Here is a BIX. BIX stands for, I'm going to give you just light descriptions, and there's more detail on the video, the preparation video for the 25 pair color code thing that we're going to do. All right, so punch down platform, BIX. BIX stands for Building Industry Cross Connect. You don't have to remember that. You just have to remember as BIX. That's what the punch down head looks like, and it has the pusher to push the cable or conductor into the connector, and it has a knife that will cut off the remaining part of the conductor, and this knife is a moving knife. It just kind of goes like this, right? Cuts it off like this. All right. And this is what a termination looks like using BIX. We will do that in class with the 25 pair cables. See, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going. Blue, orange, green, brown, slate of the white group, and then the red group starts. Remember the groups? White, Canadian color is red, black and yellow kill a fellow, and violence is the last thing that we need. So white, red, black and yellow, violet. All right, so that's what BIX looks like. Here's 110. That's what the head, punch head looks. It's got a permanent knife, not a moving knife. Here's the pusher, and you position the knife on the side of the connector so you can cut off these conductors that are supposed to be cut off. You're not going to cut off the cable here. So that's what we do. And we already have done that during our labs. So this is 110. Also, I'm just going to show you what the 66 looks like. That's the head for the punch down. And that's what 66 block looks like. You're not going to deal with this thing much, but if you encounter one of those, here's how it works. Here is a strip. So whatever you connect to here, 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 it's going to be connected as one. So you can bring in a pair. So this row and this row would serve one pair. So you see that? Bring in a cable. Here's a solid. Here's a stripe. You punch it here, punch it here. And you didn't hear that. I didn't tell you that, right? Well, right. It's on the record now. Sometimes you can get by, but just inserting those with needle nose pliers. But here's a proper way of doing it using the punch down tool. And that's what the head looks like. This one just inserts that without cutting things off, because sometimes you don't want things to be cut off. And on the other side would be something that has a knife there. Right? Some of them, the 66 blocks, they are split in half. So these two are connected, and there is no connection here, and these two are connected. And sometimes you're going to be provided with the clips. So once you run the cables here and run the cables to the other side, there's going to be a clip that you just insert right here. Just a piece of metal that just put it on top of those connectors right there in order to make this one strip connected. The best way to find out what you have, well, multimeter, but multimeter on meter, but make sure there's no connections anywhere else. So if you have a straight out of the box connector, if you really want to find out how this one works, use that, but make sure nothing is connected to it, because you can damage a meter. All right. Now here's one that's called a cron, and usually you will not see that here, but sometimes some companies will require you to do that. Very rarely. It's very popular in UK and the rest of Europe. That's what the punch down tool looks like. It has slightly different shape, and well, it's a bit more sophisticated for whisking the cables out. Yeah, it's nice. And that's what the cron platform looks like. The only huge difference between cron and the rest of the punch down platforms that I presented to you is that cron, you can stack the wires. So normally in BICS or 110, you can only put one conductor in one slot. In cron, you can stack them, so you can put more than one here. And how many you can put, it's just up to I'm not sure, is 2 or 3 you can put in there. So that's what cron looks like. Okay, just so somebody talks to you about that, so now you know what they're talking about. Termination example for BICS. That's what the BICS field looks like. Look at this here. These are 100 pair cable. This was 100 pair cables, cable, right? And it serves 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. 25, 25, 25, 25. Okay. So these are 100 pair cables, and this would be some field wiring. And from here, so this would be from the city side, maybe telephones or whatnot, terminated here. And this would be the field wiring going to individual outlets or jacks in the walls. And from here to here, or maybe it goes to some other equipment. And from here to here, you can cross connect these using a cross connect wire. Punch it here. Remember, we're punching it from the front and flipping it so the front becomes the back, and you can grab the pairs from the front. Use cross connect wire and cross connect it wherever it should be. So that's an example of BICS. Example of 110 would be, well, patch panels, data patch panels. Okay. That's what usually you would see as 110 termination, a whole bunch of data wires terminated at the patch panels of the well, the data center somewhere, right? Now, example of 66, I took a picture years ago. I had to service one of the huge facilities. I'm not going to tell you what it is, I'm not going to tell you where it is. It probably over the years has changed anyways. But this would, this is how the 66 punch down platform looks like. Well, sometimes it takes a little bit, and I will show you some as we go along. I will show you some diagnostic tools that would help you find where you can, because you could just go. It's from one of the big malls, all right. I had to move one store from one location to another as far as communication, because they had some maintenance going on, and so I had to move them from one location to another, and I had to find where had to plug in a diagnostic tool, it's sometimes called a toner, into the wall jack in that store, and I had to go into this room somewhere in the dungeon basement kind of a thing and find where that thing is along all these connections here, right? So I'll show you how you can do that. And I labeled those. See those that yellow tape there? I labeled that with the yellow tape where it was, so I don't have to look for it again, because 2 months later I had to go and reverse the connection because the maintenance was done. They had whatever renovations, and they will move back to the original location. All right, so that's what 66 punch down platform looks like. Okay, so this is pretty much the end of today's lesson. So we have learned about the 25 pair color code, and we talked about the termination types. And look at this, it's exactly 10 to 12. Yeah, we fit this class within the time frame. Cool. All right, the weather today is kind of sloppy, so well, make sure you get a good coffee before you come to another class. And I will see you when I see you. And remember, as every day, it's almost Friday. Okay. This is Mr. Bucks signing up.